All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. We only have a couple viewers on the chat or on the stream, but hopefully that'll start to pick up a little bit. But welcome to, we're going to call it Good Morning Gridiron. I think that's pretty catchy, right? Good Morning Gridiron. We have Good Morning Football. We have all these big morning shows, and that's kind of what we're hoping to start today is kind of a little series of morning shows on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 8 a.m. Central. So we got 9 on the East Coast, we got 7 on the West Coast, and then obviously everything in between. We're here to kind of kick off your day with some football, right? And so hopefully, as this goes on, we'll bring in more viewers and we'll get a lot of content and action in the chat. And obviously on Wednesday nights, we will have our nightly live stream, which I know might be more, have a lot more interaction in that on Wednesdays. But we're hoping to kind of build this up on the mornings, right? No better way to start a morning, especially during football season, than starting and talking about football, especially once the season gets going. So welcome back, everybody, to the Gridiron Expert. We are so happy you could join us today, whether you're watching live or whether you're going to watch this later on. We are thrilled to have you. So we got Fantasy Football Girl in the chat. We got Scotty B, the Baylor King. Good morning, Scott. One of the I take that back, the biggest Baylor fan that I know. He is extremely knowledgeable. And Scott, we appreciate you and all your support. And we're definitely going to get to that question that you listed there, because that is a fantastic question. Make sure to continue to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. That helps build our channel. It helps build the GE Nation. And Scott says 10,000 by the end of the year. I say let's have 10,000 by week 2. So here in about roughly a month, let's hope we have 10,000. We'll definitely be having a big 10,000 subscriber, live stream celebration for that, because that's definitely worthy of that. Again, thank you guys for joining. Like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to check out everything down in the description. Like we say in every video, we've got our Discord server. So if you enjoy the live chat, getting to talk with me through the live chat or anybody else there, the Discord server is basically a 24/7 live chat. It's free to join. You can go sign up. Links down in the description. And you can talk with us in that chat 24/7 anytime about college football. And I know Scott's in that. We've got a couple other guys that are in that. And we've had some great discussions over these last few weeks. Also, make sure to check out the expert picks per usual. For those of you that might be watching later on, make sure to sign up for those. That's down in the description as well. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the country. That we have over down in the description. We'll promote that throughout the chat and obviously in all our videos as well. So make sure to go check that out. Sign up for all of it today. Just become a part of the GE Nation, guys. Continue to build our brand and can build our community. Logan Elliott, good morning, my man. It's been a while. West Virginia, Baylor and West Virginia. I got the 2 rivals in the chat. Hopefully we'll get a few more here later on. So what we're going to do today, guys, we have a lot on the agenda. We're going to have a lot on the agenda going forward throughout all of our live streams. I want to first kind of touch briefly on week 0. We are in the week of now, week of college football. So it's Tuesday and football starts on Saturday. And I'm sure this is not news to anybody that is here. But it's a big day. And we're going to kind of briefly touch on that, and then obviously from the title, we will get to our New Year's 6 bowl predictions. Yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, we put out our playoff predictions. And if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. We have a lot of good analysis on there. We do have Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, and Clemson making the college football playoffs. So what about all the other elite teams? What about the teams that just missed out on the playoff? What about some of the conference champions that obviously aren't going to make the playoff, but should deserve to go to a New Year's 6 bowl game, like the Sugar Bowl or the Rose Bowl, things like that? So we're going to break those down here in a little bit with our New Year's 6 bowl predictions. But first, again, week 0, and of course, we will get to all of your questions in the chat as this goes on as well. REC, let's go, the Gridiron Expert. Good morning, my man. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So, all right, week 0. We got Nebraska and Northwestern. Really, if you look at the schedule, guys, unless you're a diehard fan of, some of these other smaller programs, you got North Texas, you got UTEP, you got New Mexico State, UConn, Utah State. There's some other minor games in there, but the 2 big ones are Nebraska, Northwestern, and Ireland. And then at the end of the day, Vanderbilt and Hawaii. in Hawaii, all the way out in Hawaii. Vanderbilt traveling to Hawaii. So really, you're starting your day, if you're in Central Time, 11:30 a.m. Is what kicks off the Ireland game with Nebraska and Northwestern, a Big Ten matchup. And then at the very end of the day, you're going to have that Vanderbilt-Hawaii game. And I want to touch more on the Nebraska game first, because tomorrow we're actually going to have our prediction out for Nebraska and Northwestern. But what you're looking at here, guys, one thing that I think is really interesting is what Scott Frost said just a few days ago, which was the fact that his offensive line was getting absolutely beat up. They were absolutely atrocious, over there puking their guts out, not once, but multiple times. And, take that as you will. He said he doesn't think it's because they're out of shape. He thinks just because they've never really been worked this hard before. Because obviously Nebraska, dealing with a new line coach, dealing with a new offensive coordinator in Mark Whipple. But if you're a Nebraska fan, or any football fan for that matter, would you not be slightly concerned as you are heading in to your first game that is now, 4 days away? Are you not slightly concerned about the status of your offensive line going up against what's typically a very physical Northwestern defense? They weren't last year. They were one of the worst in the nation, but should be a little bit better this year. If I'm Nebraska, I am concerned. If I'm a Nebraska fan, I am concerned hearing that. That's not a good sign. The beauty of this, guys, is that last year in Nebraska, when they played Northwestern in Lincoln, they won 56-7. They won by 49 points. And obviously, we kind of briefly broke down this game with our Nebraska and Northwestern predictions, those individual videos we did when we broke down the entire Big Ten. But again, we're going to have more of a deeper breakdown tomorrow with our official prediction. But this is a game where you wonder about the environment. You wonder about Ireland, how much of a toll is that going to take on both teams. You wonder about Nebraska and the pressure that's on Scott Frost. Obviously have yet to go to a bowl game during his time with the Cornhuskers. Went 3-9 last year, the best 3-9 team ever. Take that as you will. But this was a team that was very, very close. Instead of going from 3 wins, could have won 7 or 8, right? And Scott Frost and everybody in the nation knows the pressure is on. You fail to win again, you fail to go to a bowl game, fail to get anything done, you're done, you're out, right? And losing to Northwestern, a team who was atrocious last year, 3-9 last year, losing to them in the season opener, starting 0-1 overall, 0-1 conference play, isn't the best start. I'm going to go out here and tell you right now that I genuinely think that if Nebraska loses this game to Northwestern, and then a couple weeks later loses the game to Oklahoma, so the Cornhuskers start 1-2 or whatever it is, that Scott Frost isn't going to make it to season's end. It's just not. He's just not. Because how could you justify that? How can you justify? Because do it if you want. The program's not going anywhere, but you're looking at a team that, again, has to play everybody in the Big Ten West, still has tough games against Wisconsin, still has tough games against Purdue, despite what people say. It's still very, very good. You've got them in there. You've got Minnesota, who's a pretty big dark horse in there, not getting nearly enough attention, and Stingy defense is there. And if Nebraska doesn't put everything together, especially up front in the trenches, and if their offense as a whole doesn't really improve, they're going to be in trouble. And a loss of Northwestern isn't going to help Scott Frost's case. And then a couple weeks later, playing a potential top 10 team in Oklahoma, even though they get to host them, Nebraska's not going to be favored in that game. You look at Northwestern, though, obviously Pat Fitzgerald is a guy that you can't afford to underestimate. You can't afford to, overlook, despite their poor record of last year, because for some reason Northwestern's on this weird trend where they go 3-9, and then the next year they win the Big Ten West. It's kind of what's happened the last few years. I don't think that's going to happen this year necessarily. I think the West is too deep and too talented for Northwestern to challenge for that division, but they could be a little bit better. They got to figure out their offense. Offensively, Nebraska owns the edge. Defensively, you can make your argument for either. I still think Nebraska would own the edge there. Neither owns home field advantage. Of course, the game being played in Ireland, it comes down to coaching. Right now, Pat Fitzgerald absolutely owns that coaching edge, because how could you say Scott Frost does after watching him for the last few years in Nebraska? So week 0, guys, is going to be very interesting with that first game. And the second game, you've got Vanderbilt and Hawaii. And ironically, that might be the best game of week 0. Hard to believe, right? Vanderbilt-Hawaii might be the game to watch. Remember, last year we saw Vanderbilt play UConn, two of the worst teams in the country in Nashville. And Vanderbilt ended up, I believe, winning that game 30-28. It was actually a fantastic game. Two horrible teams provided a great game. And I think you're going to see a very similar result here with Vanderbilt and Hawaii. A lot of people are quick to point to Hawaii and go, okay, they made should have gone bowling last year. They didn't because of COVID, but should have gone bowling. They were bowl eligible, right? Now Vanderbilt's having to fly from Nashville all the way to Hawaii, which you do always have to factor in the Hawaii effect, right? The Hawaii effect of the jet lag and the distraction of being in a place where some people never get to visit in a lifetime. So all of that being said, yes, that is a factor for Vanderbilt. But what people aren't understanding here is that Hawaii loses practically the entire team from last year. They have the least returning production in the entire country. Out of all the FBS teams, Hawaii returns the least amount. And that includes their coach. They lost their coach. Todd Graham left or got let go because of quite a big scandal with the Rainbow Warriors, kind of treatment of players, things like that. So you've got a new coach in Hawaii, the least returning production in the entire FBS, new quarterback, new defense, which wasn't even good to begin with, going up against a Vanderbilt team that, yes, was 2-10 last year, yes, isn't going to be good, but at least has a little bit of consistency at quarterback, regardless of who Clark Lee chooses to start. Has a little bit of consistency defensively, has quite a bit of people back on that side of the ball, and does have consistency at the head coaching position with Clark Lee back for year 2. Vanderbilt's favored by, I believe, 6.5 points heading into this game. We will, of course, be putting that game out with our expert picks that come out tomorrow. So we're not going to give away any free picks here. Come on now. But that is a pretty stout line considering, obviously, how bad these two teams are. But if anything, that line should tell you, especially the odds makers in Vegas, it should tell you that they do know what Hawaii is about. They do know that Hawaii is not going to be that solid. You got a Vanderbilt team favored by nearly a touchdown over the Rainbow Warriors on the road. Can't remember the last time Vanderbilt was favored by a touchdown in anything. Maybe when they played East Tennessee State last year and they lost that game by 20. But still, they're favored by almost a full touchdown. That clearly shows to you that Hawaii is going to struggle 100%. So take a look at the chat real quick before we get going again. Again, Logan, good morning. Scotty, good morning. We got Tree Lowry, Tar Heels ready to roll on Saturday. Very well could. I'm excited to watch Mac Brown hopefully bounce this team back from a disappointing 2021. Lakers Dude 7. Did I miss the Wolfpack? I have to go back and catch it up in a second. And then Last Level Boss. Excited to catch you live. Hey, Last Level Boss. Man, I appreciate you, my guy. I appreciate you. We haven't done a live stream in such a long time. It's been probably close to a year. Not by choice, just because a lot of things have been going on. But we are happy to be back trying to do these more consistently. Because we love them. We love doing live streams. Love getting to chat with you guys in the moment and bring in tons and tons of content year round. So again, we're going to be doing this Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then, of course, Wednesday nights as well. The live stream schedule is up as a post on YouTube if you ever forget about it. And we might, change them up a little bit. If the mornings don't draw in a whole lot of viewers or enough engagement, we might end up switching up the times a little bit, maybe more in the afternoon or more at night, because I know it is a tough time. But again, like I said, to me, there's no better way than starting your morning than talking some football. And I think Nathaniel can definitely attest to that. He says, good morning. I just woke up to find this nice surprise. And again, you roll out of bed, you're groggy-eyed, you get on your phone or get on your computer and you go, oh, shoot, it's a live stream on. Why don't I hop on and talk some football? That's how I want to start my day. And there's always time to listen to football. You don't even have to chat, just listen. That's the beauty of it. So good morning, Lakers Dude 7. Good morning, Last Level Boss. I appreciate you. Glad you're here. Excited to get you back on some more live streams. Same with Nathaniel. And Lakers Dude, no, we have not gone over the New Year's 6 bowl games yet. We have not dived into that yet. So we will in a second, and we'll see if NC State makes a New Year's 6 bowl game. Obviously, we do not have them in the college football playoff, but will we have them in one of the other 4 remaining New Year's 6 bowl games? That is the kicker. Scott, I will come back to your question. I want to save that for the end about the fan bases. That's always a fun one. I will touch on Logan's real quick, though. What's your prediction on the Houston UTSA matchup? I think it could determine who comes out of the Group of 5 as the highest-ranked Group of 5 conference champion. And Logan, I will tell you, actually, I will tell you this. Last night, I was scrolling through the Discord. I don't always respond to the Discord, guys. I know Lakers Dude's in there. I know Scott's in there. And a lot of you guys have been there. I don't always get to respond to the Discord, but I do get to check it every now and then. And late last night before I went to bed, because, I had to get up early for this thing, I noticed you guys talking about UTSA and the fact that there's a good chance they could start 0-3, right? Because the Roadrunners, who were last year's, Cinderella team, right? The year before it was Coastal Carolina. They came out of nowhere and captured the nation. And last year it was UTSA, who was undefeated until the season finale when they lost to North Texas. They still beat Western Kentucky in that electric offense in the Conference USA Championship game, and then fell to San Diego State. So UTSA, a team who was, all things considered, relatively new to this FBS level, 12-2. 12-2, unbelievable, right? But now they do lose their star running back, Sincere McCormick. They come back. They're coming back, high expectations. Their first 3 games: Houston, Army, and Texas. Houston, one of the best Group of 5 teams in the country, maybe the best Group of 5 team in the country. Army, that dangerous triple option on the road all the way at West Point. And then Texas, who may not be the best thing in the world, but from a talent standpoint, Texas does own the edge over UTSA. So, you guys talking in that Discord, you were saying there's a chance that UTSA could start 0-3. And I do have them starting 0-3. I actually am picking Houston to beat UTSA, and I think the Roadrunners start 0-3. I don't think they're going to be able to beat those first 3 teams. But then obviously we believe they were able to coast through their Conference USA slate. We have them going 7-1 in conference, as many of you guys mentioned, and 8-4 overall, which would be good enough to make that Conference USA championship game. So despite the 0-3 start, the beauty of being with these Group of 5 programs, guys, is they don't really have their sights set on the playoff, right? They're looking to win conference championships, maybe get into that New Year's Six bowl game if they can. They can afford those multiple non-conference losses because a lot of the times those non-conference losses are against Power 5 programs or more elite Group of 5 programs. Not saying they can't win those, not saying you're immediately writing them off as losses, but they are getting paid a lot of the times to play in those games. They're expected to be losses. So they go, oh, it's okay if we start 0-3. We've got 8 or 9 conference games. Those are the ones that matter. Those are the ones that are going to get us to a championship or a bowl game or whatever. And that's what's going to happen with UTSA. 8-4 doesn't look great on paper, but obviously when you realize the non-conference slate, 8-4 with a potential 10-win season, if they can win the conference and win a bowl game, not too bad for Jeff Traylor. Tailgate Nate, happy to see you, my man. Good morning. UTSA Houston, most underrated week 1 game by far. I would agree with that. And we're going to actually have a video out on that probably next week. Because here's the thing, guys. We're going to be doing these live streams relatively consistently, both in the morning and at night. Again, the live stream schedule is up on YouTube. But we're going to still have our content. Our normal just playing videos, prediction videos, and analysis videos, and recap videos, and ranking videos, and things like that. And one of the things that we're hoping to kind of change this year, you'll be the first to know, if you get up early, you get the inside scoop, is we are hoping to make individual videos for every top 25 game, in the sense of every ranked versus ranked matchup. So every ranked versus ranked matchup, we're hoping to have that individual video out. So in week 1, we are hoping to have a video out for Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon and Georgia, Arkansas and Cincinnati. I believe those are the only 3 ranked versus ranked matchups, but we're going to have a video out for 3 of them. But then in addition to that, sometimes we bring out the whiteboard, we bring out our top 5 games of the week. Instead of touching on those games, we're going to touch on 5 games and maybe underrated, or 5 games that are still big but don't contain ranked versus ranked matchups, whatever it could be. So we are really excited to be doing that because it's going to give us an opportunity to touch on more games than just the top 5. It'll give us an opportunity to touch on more games than just the, get 2 game of the weeks. And obviously, when the NFL season starts, we'll be touching a little bit on NFL as well, doing our NFL game of the week. And obviously, wouldn't mind even touching on some NFL in these live streams as well. So we're really, really excited to get on that. Chris out here. Oh, man, my man, Chris. Gridiron really getting his picks right. 80% versus spread betting with his picks. I mean, hey, Chris, he's speaking facts, guys. He's speaking facts. I appreciate you, my man. Obviously, Chris has been a huge part of our GE Nation, so good morning to you, my man. Huge part of our GE Nation, huge supporter of the expert picks, and we can't thank you enough for your support and hope that everybody else jumps in on that as well. Hopes everybody else takes advantage of those expert picks. You can sign up for those today. Links in the description because our first picks come out tomorrow. We're only going to put out a few because there aren't too many week 0 games. So about 3 games probably, a little 3-team parlay if you want, for tomorrow. Then next week is when we're going to have tons of games lined up for the week 1 expert picks, and obviously we'll do NFL going forward. We'll have everything out there. So Chris, appreciate you. So good to hear from you. Thank you so much for your support. Can't wait to get started. Can't wait for more analysis on the expert picks. Let's see right here. Logan Elliott, you should do a West Virginia Pitt video since it's a big week. Yes, we will. Absolutely, Logan. Actually, I believe we have that scheduled for Monday. We're definitely going to be doing a big breakdown for West Virginia and Pittsburgh. The backyard brawl, first time they've met since 2011, I believe. So we are going to absolutely have that out there. So hopefully on Monday, but definitely next week, we will have analysis for that. And our goal, don't hold me to it, our goal is to do a quick post-game recap of the backyard brawl when it ends. So hop on a live stream and let's talk about what we just watched on Thursday night, because that's really when college football gets going. And that's by far the top game of that night, one of the top games of week 1. Lakers do. Will I do a Masked Singer recap if Tom Brady's on it? I mean, I think I have to, right? I think I have to. He came out and said he wasn't on the Masked Singer, but I do know that is a very popular theory going around. I'm a huge Tom Brady fan, always have been, so it would be pretty wild. But, you know, everybody that was out there saying how they thought that Tom Brady might not return for week 1 against the Cowboys. You know, week 1 starts for him on the 11th of September. You were crazy. You were crazy. This is Tom Brady we're talking about. This is any starting NFL quarterback isn't going to miss a real game. Preseason, it doesn't matter. Was Brady going to play in the preseason anyways? Probably not. And if he did, it was probably going to be for a series or 2. So missing all the preseason games. Does the guy really need the preseason prep? No, he really doesn't. Let's be honest here. He basically is running that team. Do you really think Todd Bowles is coaching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Really? It's Tom Brady. It's the equivalent of LeBron James. You think Frank Vogel, Lakers dude, do you think Frank Vogel was coaching the LA Lakers? No, it was LeBron James. I mean, I'm not saying you don't need a coach. It is necessary because you got one great on there. You got LeBron James like him, or you got Tom Brady, but you got a lot of other players that aren't the greatest of all time. So you need coaches to coach them up. And Brady's not responsible for the defense. I get that. But at the end of the day, when you have the greatest of all time, whatever the sport is, you had Michael Jordan back with the Bulls. Phil Jackson, I do believe, deserved a lot of credit for the work that he did, 100%. But, a lot of people make comments about that. They go, well, I could have coached the Bulls. I could have coached the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. And they had Derek Fisher at the time. All those guys. I mean, all those players that were lined up, I could have coached them. I mean, honestly, I think most people could. I think that's definitely more prominent in the NBA. Frank Vogel, not a horrible coach, but he was an NBA championship caliber coach. He won that championship. Why? Well, COVID and LeBron James. David Blatt, anybody know that name? The Cleveland Cavaliers coach. The heck was he? He didn't know crap about basketball. I don't even know the Cavs hired him. But he made the NBA Finals, not because he was a good coach, but because he had LeBron James. I think it's a little more prominent probably in the NBA than it is in the NFL. But all that to say, will I do a Masked Singer recap? Tom Brady's on it. Yes, of course I will. I don't believe he is. And yeah, he'll be back for week 1. Obviously, there was no chance he was going to miss that. So, but yes, had to poke a little fun there. Yeah, he was decent with the Pacers, but he was decent with the Pacers. He got him in the playoffs a few times. Had him in the Eastern Conference Finals a few times back when he had Paul George and Hibbett and guys like that. Back when LeBron was with Miami. But yeah, overall, mediocre at best. He has a ring to his name now, but again, it's not because I think of his coaching. And yes, Blatt didn't coach at all, not a chance. So, all right, that's enough basketball talk. We're not here to talk basketball, right? We've talked a lot about that already. And hey, when March Madness comes around, we definitely will be talking some. And when we do live streams in the off season and NBA and college basketball start heating up, and November, December, maybe we will talk a little bit more about that. But right now, focus has got to be on football. Georgia DM, what's up? What's up, Sam? How's it going? Good morning, my man. It's so good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Guys, he's incognito right here, but I think we get the link. Maybe we have the description in there. But go follow all CFB over on Instagram if you got a chance. Georgia's DM, obviously huge Georgia fan, runs one of the best college football pages in the country. So make sure to go give him a look. All CFB over on Instagram. We've had it in our description forever. I don't know if it's still there or not. But Sam, good to see you, my man. We'll definitely have to link up soon, talk some more. Maybe even get you here on the show because we're hoping to have more live streams and more call-ins. Not today, but War Collins, and even some other guests on here. So, and I appreciate you in the super chat. Hey, super chat is always on, and every single penny goes towards the channel and helps us out big time. So, Sam, good to see you, man. Hear from you. God, it's morning for me too, and we'll definitely touch base soon, 100%. All right, I think we're caught up on the chat. We're going to come back to the chat, but hence the title, we have to talk about the New Year's Six bowl games, right? Let's get back to football and let's dive into that. So again, a quick recap. Yesterday we put out our playoff predictions. Alabama versus Clemson, Ohio State versus Georgia. That's who we have in the college football playoff by season's end. Shouldn't be much of a surprise. A lot of people got upset with that. Not necessarily with our picks, just over the course of in the sense of college football is for some bland, right? Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, the usual suspects. Last year was kind of fun, right? Because Michigan and Cincinnati were new to the playoff. We knew they weren't going to win those games. We knew Georgia wasn't losing to Michigan, and we knew Alabama was not losing to Cincinnati. But it was cool to see them in there and have two new teams in the playoff. Now we're really not. We've seen these guys in the playoff before. And right now, Alabama and Ohio State, as we said in our playoff prediction video yesterday, are without a doubt the top two teams in the country. They're 1 and 2 in the polls right now. We believe that's how they're going to be by season's end, both going undefeated. Plain and simple. But what about the rest, right? If you want to learn more about the playoff, go watch that video from yesterday. For now, we're looking at the other games, which again, New Year's Six bowl games matter. They're big deals. Huge deals. Some teams have never been to one before. Some teams have never won one before. What did Baylor, Scott, you probably know this, Baylor was 1957, I think it was. It had been over 50 years since Baylor had won the Sugar Bowl last year when they beat Ole Miss. There are teams that have never made these BCS New Year's Six caliber bowl games. There are teams that have never made them. There are teams that have never won them. And we hope that players don't choose to, opt out when they have an opportunity to play in a big-time game like this. It isn't the Liberty Bowl. It's the Sugar Bowl. It's the Cotton Bowl. It's the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. We've got to be focused on those type of games. So, Georgia DM agrees with all four picks. Dogs beat Ohio State and fall to Bama. We might have a Bama-Georgia rematch like we had last year. Definitely going to beat each other in the SEC championship again. I think that's kind of on a collision course, kind of a no debate there. Whether or not they meet in the Natty, that remains to be seen, but wouldn't mind seeing another rematch between those two, considering how much both of them bring back and how good they're going to be, especially Georgia's offense. I think last year, the defense stole the show. Georgia's offense was pretty underrated. Now people aren't even talking nearly enough about the offense because when you think Georgia, you think defense, but you got to look at the offense, guys. The Bulldogs are going to be pretty stout on that side of the ball and actually could hang with Alabama when it comes to step for step and scoring point for point. All right. Who wants to see some New Year's Six predictions? Who wants to see who we have? 8 teams in 4 games, and we're going to give our reasonings for all of them. Let's go ahead and just start from the top, and we'll go over to the Sugar Bowl. How about that? The Sugar Bowl. And we've got Arkansas taking on Baylor. Arkansas and Baylor in the Sugar Bowl. Now, I think this might come as a shock to some people to see Arkansas in the Sugar Bowl. Baylor, maybe not so much. We do have the Bears, I believe, going 9-3 in the regular season, making the Big 12 championship game, and beating Oklahoma in that Big 12 championship game. So, you have a SEC Big 12 tie-in here, and obviously, since we don't believe that Baylor being at 9-3 at season's end is going to make the college football playoff, they're going to get that automatic berth to the Sugar Bowl. So Baylor making another Sugar Bowl appearance back-to-back. Arkansas over here making the Sugar Bowl. Why? Because Alabama and Georgia, we both have making the playoff, which means the Sugar Bowl goes to the next highest ranked SEC team, which we do have as the Razorbacks. We have Arkansas finishing 9-3 in the regular season as well, 6-2 in conference play, which is ahead of Texas A&M. I think that's the more common pick here, and better than anybody else in the East behind Georgia. So the Razorbacks, some even have them going 10-2. That definitely would get them to a New Year's Six bowl game. We have making the Sugar Bowl to take on Baylor. So very, very exciting. And as Sam just pointed out here, he's all in on Arkansas. Power rates them 3rd in the SEC. Just have to manage a brutal schedule. But I like what he said there. Basically, if you're ranking the SEC teams without divisions, Arkansas we have at 3rd. Alabama 1, Georgia 2, and Arkansas right behind them at 3. Because they would have the 3rd best record when it's all said and done. Again, some want to argue Ole Miss as waves on swim. Good to see you. Good morning. I want to say, some would say A&M, but Arkansas and Baylor, both 9-3 in the regular season, making a Sugar Bowl. Baylor back-to-back. Arkansas, their first BCS caliber bowl game, first Sugar Bowl appearance since the 2010 season when they made it and faced off against Ohio State and fell 31-26. Excellent game down in New Orleans. All right, that's the Sugar Bowl. Next up, we got the Rose Bowl. Oregon and Michigan. Oregon and Michigan in the Rose Bowl. And I think if you look around at most national, prognostications and things like that, a lot of people have Oregon and Michigan in the Rose Bowl. We have Oregon obviously winning the Pac-12, which is controversial for some. And that's where things actually were going to get kind of interesting, right? Is because we have the Pac-12 championship as Oregon versus Utah. And it's a scenario, guys, where we believe that if Utah wins the game against Oregon, wins the Pac-12, then Utah would probably be in the college football playoff and easily would probably get in possibly over Clemson. They'd have to decide. Do you put in a one-loss Pac-12 champion Utah team, or do you put in a one-loss ACC champion Clemson, or do you put in or do you kick Georgia out, who's a one-loss SEC runner-up? And that would be the kicker for the playoff committee to decide. But it won't matter, because we believe Oregon does beat Utah in the Pac-12 championship game, so they get the automatic Pac-12 berth there. And then the Big Ten, we obviously have Ohio State going to the playoffs, so it will go to the next highest-ranked Big Ten team, which isn't necessarily the Big Ten runner-up. It's not necessarily the Big Ten runner-up. It's not going to be Wisconsin, who, after the Big Ten championship lost to Ohio State, we would have it 9-4. Doesn't mean they get to go. It'd be Michigan, who we have going 10-2 in the regular season. So Oregon and Michigan in the Rose Bowl. I got a lot of people that like that matchup there. George Dice, good morning, my man. It's been a long, long time, George. Good to see you. Great to have you with us. A lot of people interested in there. Billy Carter saying that he does not trust Michigan at all and actually believes it'll be USC and Michigan State. What a matchup that would be. What a matchup that would be. It's very interesting there if it can pan out. But Oregon and Michigan in the Rose Bowl based on our predictions. All right. Lakers dude, are you ready? We've got the Orange Bowl, North Carolina State and Notre Dame. North Carolina State and Notre Dame. Now, this is a tough one, right? This is a tough decision when it comes, because here's the thing, guys. Most of the time, we have the College Football Playoff Committee decides who makes the playoff and who makes these New Year's Six bowl games, which it should solely be based on stats and facts, right? It should solely be based on, take the Sugar Bowl, for example. Arkansas is the next best SEC team when it comes to standings, therefore they go. That's not how it always works. They do look at location. They do look at who's going to bring in the most money. They do look at the best matchup. They look at the most ideal matchup. And so when you look at NC State here, I do believe that they are a New Year's Six caliber team. And I obviously clearly have them making that bowl game, right? They're that good. We have them at 10-2 in the regular season, and easily could be 11-1. If you're looking for a true quote-unquote playoff dark horse, it's NC State. This team is absolutely loaded from top to bottom. Let me tell you, if they beat Clemson, all bets are off. But 10-2. The reason I say it's interesting is because we have Miami at 9-3, falling to Clemson in the ACC championship game. You could make the argument for Miami to be in here, despite a worse record than NC State. Hey, they're ACC runner-up, and they get, quote-unquote, home field advantage right in their backyard. Does the committee give the Orange Bowl to Miami? I don't think they should. I don't think they will. Clearly, the second-best ACC team outside of Clemson would be NC State. So the Wolfpack making a New Year's Six bowl game in the Orange Bowl, taking on Notre Dame. Obviously, the way the Orange Bowl works, it's an ACC team versus a team from the Big Ten, the SEC, or Notre Dame. That is how the Orange Bowl works. And when you look at it, guys, we looked at the Big Ten, we looked at the SEC. To us, there was no other team in there that would have been worthy, record-wise, of getting into this Orange Bowl when you have a Notre Dame team that we have at 10-2, only losing to Ohio State in the season opener, and for us, USC in the season finale. So Notre Dame at 10-2 should be good enough to get them into a New Year's Six bowl game. This would be a fun matchup. Great Notre Dame defense, strong NC State offense, and a very underrated defense at that. Orange Bowl will be a lot of fun, and I'll just go out there right now and say that if I had to choose this game early, I'm going with NC State. Just a little tidbit for you. Who knows what'll happen, but have a little fun with that. All right, last New Year's Six bowl game. Again, we've done the Sugar, we've done the Rose. We'll recap them here in a second. Last New Year's Six bowl game. This was another tough one. The Cotton Bowl, Cincinnati and Utah. Cincinnati and Utah in the Cotton Bowl. Now, this one, geographically makes no sense, but after Western Michigan and Wisconsin played in the Cotton Bowl a few years ago, geography makes no sense when it comes to these bowl games. But here's the thing. The Cotton Bowl is typically going to get the highest ranked Group of 5 champion. That is kind of how it works. Typically the Fiesta Bowl could get them, but the Fiesta Bowl is a playoff game, so now it's the Cotton Bowl. We believe it will be Cincinnati this year. We broke down the entire American Athletic Conference, and we still believe that Cincinnati, despite losing Desmond Ridder, despite losing Jerome Ford, despite losing Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant and guys like that they are still the best Group of 5 team and will win the American over Houston. If Houston were to beat Cincinnati, Houston would be here in the Cotton Bowl and probably draw in quite a big crowd with it being in the state of Texas. So Cincinnati making the Cotton Bowl in at 11-2, the AAC champions, the highest ranked Group of 5 champion, because we don't believe anybody in the other Group of 5 conferences can challenge them. Then you have Utah. And this was a tough one for us here. Because Utah, we had at 11-1 falling to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship, right? So Utah would be 11-2, clearly not making the Rose Bowl, but 11-2, 11 wins surely would be worthy enough to get you to a New Year's Six bowl game, in theory. But I almost put Oklahoma here. Almost put Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. Because again, logically, it should be, the best team left, right? Because it's just at-larges. The Cotton Bowl really is just a bowl game of at-larges, not really any big tie-ins. But you look at Oklahoma. Why would that make sense? Geographically, it would make sense. We have the Sooners going 10-3, the third loss being in the Big 12 championship to Baylor. But the Sooners would be a 10-win team. And why would that be intriguing? Well, maybe it's because Oklahoma and Cincinnati are going to be in the Big 12 together next year. Yes, we know Oklahoma and Texas are heading out to the SEC. Maybe they jump ship earlier. They're not supposed to go to 25. Maybe they jump ship earlier. But even if they were leaving next year, they could pose the Cotton Bowl and highlight it as a what could have been. If Oklahoma would have stayed, how would they have fared against Cincinnati? Or how would Cincinnati have fared against Oklahoma? That is what they could play that off as. So Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl would not be the worst matchup in the world, and I would not be surprised to see the committee give the Cotton Bowl to Oklahoma and give Utah the Alamo Bowl or something like that. Let's keep in mind, a few years ago, Utah was one game away from the playoff. They fell to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game, and the Utes didn't go to a New Year's Six bowl game. It didn't happen for them. I believe they ended up falling all the way down to the Alamo Bowl, where they played Texas, and got annihilated. Texas took easy care of them because Utah, quote unquote, had no motivation. So Utah or Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl, they will face Cincinnati. I feel confident about that. Right now, we are giving the edge to the Utes because I can't see how you can leave out an 11-2 Utah team and put them in ahead of a 10-3 Oklahoma team. I can't see that. But that is who we believe is in the Cotton Bowl, guys. And that's going to be one of the oddest matchups of the New Year's Six bowl games. One of the weirder matchups, without a doubt. But definitely a fun one here. Another opportunity for Cincinnati to take down an elite Power 5 team and show that, hey, even though we lost a lot, we're still going to be just fine. So again, a quick recap for you guys. The Sugar Bowl, Baylor and Arkansas. That, to me, would be the most intriguing matchup here, followed by Oregon and Michigan in the Rose Bowl. That, to me, the second most intriguing matchup based on our predictions. A really close match between the Rose and Sugar Bowl, but both very fun ones there. Again, the Pac-12 champions in Oregon. Michigan, the second best Big Ten team. The Orange Bowl, NC State and Notre Dame. Bit of a basketball matchup for some, but a really fun football matchup down in Miami. And then the Cotton Bowl, Cincinnati and Utah, although you could make the case for Oregon. For Oklahoma. Got the O's mixed up. So those are our New Year's Six prediction, guys. And let's talk about it for a second. we kind of gave you our reasoning for them, and now I kind of want to briefly go through the chat and kind of see what you guys were thinking here and thoughts on that. So, obviously we've had a couple people question the Arkansas pick, thinking it could be Ole Miss, thinking it could be Texas A&M, it could be Tennessee. I'm sure Billy Carter would love that, but remains to be seen. He's got NC State and Texas A&M possibly in the Orange Bowl. Again, SEC team can make the Orange Bowl. A couple years ago, we actually saw Florida playing in that game. A&M was in it a few years ago, played North Carolina. So, that is a tie-in for them. I just don't think Texas A&M is going to get in over Notre Dame. And again, that's where it's tough for this committee, guys. Again, in theory, you should just base off of the standings, based off of the stats and the facts. That's not typically how it works, unfortunately. Do you put in a 10-2 Notre Dame team into the Orange Bowl over a 9-3 Texas A&M team that it was 5-3 in conference play? How do you structure that? Because again, what it ultimately comes down to is, yes, you had to put deserving teams in there, 100%. You do, but on top of deserving teams, the committee's looking for ratings. They're looking for what's going to draw in the viewers, what's going to draw in the money, what's going to draw in the actual in-person revenue. You take a look at the Sugar Bowl, Arkansas and Baylor. That's going to be a sellout, no doubt about it, because New Orleans, for the Razorbacks and the Bears, not the worst drive and not the worst travel in the world. It really isn't. Oregon is going to have tons of people at that Rose Bowl. Michigan, they would travel for that because the Rose Bowl is a big deal. The Orange Bowl, North Carolina to Miami, not horrible. And then obviously you have Notre Dame. They would probably travel. But you look in the Cotton Bowl, honestly, would be the weirdest one. Are people from Utah going to travel all the way down to Dallas for that game? Are people from Cincinnati going to travel all the way to Dallas for that game? They're looking at what's going to fill the seats, what's going to bring in the money, and what's going to bring in the money from the eyes at home. Are you going to watch these games? And so, yes, it's going to be interesting to see, there is the SEC type power. I'm sure they would much rather have an SEC team in there, but I can't justify putting in an A&M team that's 9-3 over a team like Notre Dame, who yes is 10-2, but their only losses are to a playoff team in Ohio State and a borderline possible playoff team in USC, who we also have going 10-2, and obviously clearly we have missing out on a New Year's Six bowl game despite a double-digit win season. So very, very interesting matchup. They could easily see a USC-Oklahoma bowl game. That would be a fun one. And we might have a couple other bowl predictions coming for you later on, some of the New Year's Day ones. But for now, the New Year's Six and playoff are clearly the biggest. Let's see here. Sam saying, yes, for sure, NC State's going to make one of these for sure. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the NC State, I think, is one of those teams that, has all this preseason hype for once, and they just can't afford to have a letdown. They've got to make sure they show up for it, and I think they will. As long as Devin Leary stays healthy, NC State will be in the running for the playoff and a New Year's Six bowl game. And maybe they folded Clemson. That might be their only loss. Maybe they slip up somewhere else. We believe they're going to fall up one more place other than Clemson. But regardless, as long as they finish 10-2 or better, they are going to a New Year's Six bowl game, and rightfully so. Dave Durbin and the Wolfpack deserve this, not because of the job that he's done over the last few years, but because of how they got kind of shafted at the end of last year. Should have played UCLA, and that game got canceled like hours before it was supposed to be played, which they were pretty livid about that, and rightfully so. Waves on Swim. Why is Notre Dame gifted a preseason top 10 ranking every year? Why are a lot of teams gifted top 10 rankings every year or top 25? We'll get to that. I will come back to that because if I start, I will go off on a rant. And I have to make sure to answer that and Scott's question from the beginning. So I'll get back to that. But Last Level Boss kind of answered it. It's the same, what do you say there? The same reason, Ohio State, USC, and a couple others always do. And in summary, he's right. And I'll get to that. Let's see. Literally someone says Cincinnati versus Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, or Oklahoma. Geographically would make sense. Obviously, they'd love that for Cincinnati to play a Big 12 team. I think that would be ideal for Cincinnati to play a Big 12 team as a preview for what could happen in 2023 or what could have been if they played someone like Oklahoma or Texas or whoever. Although Texas, I don't have making a New Year's Six bowl game at all. But yes. Billy Carter, am I going to do more Power 5 bowl games or just the New Year's Six? We might have a few more bowl predictions later on. maybe tomorrow's live stream, maybe Thursday's live stream. Although I promised our man Doggy, I don't know everybody's name here, but his username is Doggy, that I would have a couple predictions for him on Thursday morning. So stay tuned for Thursday morning. If you want to see the predictions for UConn and UMass and New Mexico State, if you want to see those predictions, really it's just going to be their record, and I'll kind of just tell you who I have them beating. There's probably going to be a combined 3 wins between those 3 teams. But if you want to see those predictions, show up on Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time, because that's what you're going to get. So we're going to have those predictions on Thursday. A lot of people have been wanting to see those for some reason. And we might have a couple other bowl predictions as well. Not all of them, but a few, just to kind of mix in some of the teams that we've talked about. Let's see what else we have here. Why is it still called New Year's 6? I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. I love the BCS. That was peak college football for me personally. I love the BCS era. I know a lot of the reason we got the playoff, guys, the reason we got the college football playoff was because of that one year that Alabama and LSU met in the national championship game. Whether you agree with it or not, that's why it happened. The 2011 season, January 2012, when Alabama and LSU met in the national championship, that's why we got the playoff. Was because everybody freaked out. How is it fair that 2 teams in the same conference, let alone the same division, are meeting for the national championship? And yes, some would say that Oklahoma State kind of got the boot there. But if Oklahoma State doesn't lose to Iowa State, if you beat a mediocre Iowa State team, you're in the national championship, no doubt about it. Maybe they should have gotten in over Alabama. It probably should have been LSU, Oklahoma State. Would have been a more intriguing matchup, I feel like, because Alabama dominated that game. But the reason we got the playoff was because of that. The funny thing is, what's happened since the playoff has come along? We've had 2 national championships with both teams from the same conference. Last year with Alabama, Georgia, and a few years ago with Alabama and Georgia. So we've had 7 years of the playoffs, 7 national championships, right? 14, 15, 16. 8 years. Started in 2014. 8 national championships. 25% of those, 2 of the 8, so 1/4, have been national championships from the same conference. You're also not even factoring in that the majority of the playoff games have been blowouts. They've been boring. They've been terrible. They're over by halftime. I mean, who are we kidding? Go ahead, name it. What good playoff games have we seen other than Georgia and Oklahoma? That game was phenomenal. A couple years ago, Clemson, Ohio State. That game was phenomenal. Controversial, but phenomenal. Other than that, what have we really seen? Think about it. The first year, and I can't remember all the matchups off my head, but the first year you had, Ohio State and Alabama. That was a solid one for the most part, an upset for sure. And so all the playoff people look like geniuses. They go, oh, look, the 4 seed beat the 1 seed in the first year. See, the playoff is worth it. Is it? Oregon dominated Florida State. Ohio State dominated Oregon. And some say that Ohio State shouldn't have gotten into the playoff. I mean, they made the most of it, and they did. Alabama just about dominates every single year. When's the last time they lost a semifinal game? Probably that first year, right? When they've been in the playoff. They dominated Michigan State. They dominated Washington. They dominated Clemson when they played in the semifinal. They killed Cincinnati. I mean, there just aren't close games. And the answer to that, I don't know what it is. It's either to get rid of the playoff entirely. I think it'd be more interesting to see what it would be like if we kind of reverted back to a BCS caliber system. Or maybe you expand the playoff. And I'll tell you guys a quick story real quick before I go back to the chat. So I was actually, for some of you may know, I'm actually here in Little Rock. Scott Swindle, Woo Pig, good morning, good to see you. But I'm actually located out of Little Rock, Arkansas, right? So actually Kirk Herbstreit from ESPN was here yesterday. He was here in Little Rock. Went and had the chance to listen to him speak. Obviously couldn't video, things like that, copyright and, issues like that. But one thing that he said that I thought was very interesting. Now, this is one of the premier college football analysts, right? He gets up there and he says, look, he said, too much emphasis is being put on the college football playoff. Too much. Because we have, and last little boss making it, I love hate how subjective the end of the year is. And that's kind of what his point was making. We're putting too much emphasis on the playoff where it's almost, to an extent, ruining the game unless you expand. Because you have 4 teams that are only getting in, which means, you could have a 11-win team, 11-1 team, get left out at number 5. Easily could happen. I do wonder what would have happened last year had Oklahoma State beat Baylor in the Big 12 championship game. What would have happened there? Would the committee have put in Oklahoma State as that 4 seed, or would they have put in Cincinnati, the undefeated AAC champion, who had 2 Power 5 wins, right? Over a good one against Notre Dame, had another one against Indiana, and breezed through their American slate. Had a couple of ranked wins on their schedule. What would have happened? But he was saying, it was so subjective. We're putting so much emphasis on it. And also the fact that basically if you don't make the playoff, it doesn't matter. He made a joke out there. He was saying, he goes, obviously he went out to Ohio State. He goes, he talks to these Ohio State players and they go, like last year, they missed out on the playoff and they go, well, great, we made the Rose Bowl. And he was like, whoa, why are we upset about that? Like, yes, obviously you want to make the playoff. You want to play for a national championship. He goes, but the Rose Bowl is still a big deal. These New Year's Six bowl games that we just predicted today are still a big deal. And we have changed the culture among all programs to where if you don't make that Final Four, your season has meant nothing, and the bowl game that you're about to play in means nothing, and players are going to opt out, not try as hard, or be disappointed and go like Ryan Day made the comment. And is he wrong? Not necessarily. He goes, yeah, 11-2 and a Rose Bowl win might be good at some places, but it's not at Ohio State. Okay, good for you. Yes, you hold yourself to a higher standard than some of these other even Power 5, programs. Obviously, I get that. But to sit there and be like, the Rose Bowl is a disappointment, and you won that Rose Bowl, and you're consistently in the running for the playoff and winning Big Ten championships, it just doesn't make sense to me because you're not going to be able to win every year. It's just not going to happen. I mean, even Alabama can't do that. They win consistently, but they can't win the Natty every year. Didn't win it last year. A couple years ago, they didn't even make the playoff. So put things in perspective. And so when it comes down to this playoff, guys, it is very frustrating. The only way to fix it is either to get rid of it, go back to a BCS or different system, or expand it, where maybe you expand it to 8 teams. Maybe you take the 5 Power 5 champions, you take the highest ranked group of 5, and 2 at-larges. Which would mean the best 2 teams left available. So last year you would have taken your Power 5 conferences, your champions. So I'm kind of going loosely here. You would have taken Alabama, you would have taken Michigan, you would have taken Cincinnati, obviously the highest ranked group of 5. So Alabama, Michigan, Cincinnati. You would have taken Pittsburgh out of the ACC, which would have been interesting. Interesting to see Kenny Pickett in the playoff, right? And you would have taken Baylor, right? And we're missing somebody else. Pac-12, right? Then we're missing. Who even won the Pac-12 last year? Utah, right? Yeah, Utah dominated. So you would have had Alabama, Michigan, Utah, Baylor, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Georgia would have gotten in, an at-large, and then pick your poison for 8. Pick your poison for 8 team. It could have been Oklahoma State. It could have been Notre Dame. It could have been whoever else was close, but just missed out. That's who would have gotten in. And imagine a playoff like that. You still could have ended up with Alabama and Georgia in the national championship, and still could have ended up with Georgia winning it all. Easily could have. But it gives other people a chance. And I'm not one for everybody deserves a chance, everybody deserves a fair shot. I'm not one for that. You do have to earn it. But I do believe winning your entire conference earns you that. Or running the table, going a perfect, going 11-1, but failing to make your conference championship game because someone else was slightly better than you. I mean, imagine being in the same division as Alabama, who goes undefeated, and you're a team like, I'm just throwing out names, A&M or Arkansas or Auburn, whoever it is, and you go 11-1, and your only loss is to Alabama. So Alabama's 12-0, you're 11-1. You don't make the SEC championship. You're 11-1. Any other conference 11-1 is getting you in to your championship game, but not in the SEC West. So you're 11-1. You miss out on that. Alabama wins it, and you're 11-1, sitting at 5, possibly. How bad would that hurt? An 11-1 team getting left out of the college football playoff, because you have to take Alabama, you have to take some of the other conference champions. So I think what we just mentioned, the top 5, the 5 conference champions, the highest ranked group of 5 champion, 2 at-larges, 8-team playoff, that's how it should work. And I think you're going to see more incentive. I think you're going to see more effort. I think you're going to see more fun. I think you're going to see more competitive playoff games. And overall, it would just be a lot better for college football. But that's just me. I doubt it'll happen. We're in 2022. I don't even think they're considering expansion until 25 or 26 at the earliest. So let's keep going for 4. Let's keep enjoying the top 4 teams and see how that pans out for us going forward. Touching up on a couple of these comments again before we slowly start to wrap up this morning live stream. Typically, these will last for about an hour or so, just enough to get us going before we head into the work day or school or whatever you're doing for the rest of the day. And then obviously we'll have more content out tomorrow. We'll have a Northwestern Nebraska prediction. We'll have another live stream tomorrow night. Week 0, the week of is kind of tough to discuss, but next week, we are in the week of week 1. Watch out. We are loaded with content. But look at this. Tavis McKay thinks Notre Dame gets over the hump in New Year's 6 games with Marcus Freeman at the helm. I thought so too when they were up 28-7 last year, and they still found a way to manage to lose to Oklahoma State. But hopefully they will get over the hump with Marcus Freeman and find a way to win the big games. Boss Boy could see ECU sneaking into a New Year's 6 bowl game. Not likely. They would pretty much have to go undefeated or be a 1-loss team, but ECU is a American Athletic Conference sleeper. They are very, very good this year, very talented, but they don't have the way Eastern Carolina or East Carolina finds a way to contend for a New Year's 6 bowl game is by upsetting NC State in week 1. They upset NC State in week 1, then you could possibly start talking about ECU, especially if they start to run through their conference slate. But if they fall to NC State, you can kiss that New Year's 6 bowl hope goodbye because the strength of schedule simply is not there. Let's see here. George Stice, Dave Doran was his old neighbor when he was at Northern Illinois. Now that's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome right there. Hard to believe. A lot of people forget that he was at Northern Illinois, but that is pretty cool. I hope you got a picture or an autograph or something because this could be a guy that's coaching the playoff by season's end. Very well possible. Billy Carter saying the game Alabama-LSU back in 2012 was extremely boring. It was. Actually, both games were boring. You had, depending on, your style of ball. Because they met in 2011, and LSU won that game of the century, number 1, number 2, 9-6, in overtime, or multiple overtimes, I believe it was. But then the national championship, Alabama got the revenge, and that was extremely boring to watch. 2 great defenses. I'm pretty sure they were all field goals up until the end. I think it was Trent Richardson, They ended up sealing the game for him. But Alabama was winning 15-0. I'm pretty sure solely off a field goal, which is ironic, right? Because they were actually making their field goals for once. They weren't having any kicking woes going forward. But 15-0, and then towards the end of the game, they burst out for that big run that put them up 21-0, which was like the lone touchdown of the game. So I agree. Very boring game to watch. It was unfortunate because everybody was hoping for another game of the century rematch, another maybe low scoring but tight game. It was right in LSU's backyard. I remember that game being in New Orleans, thinking LSU had a slight home field advantage in a way, and Alabama just murdered them. Which again, it's one of those things where if you give Nick Saban a second chance, it typically doesn't bode well for you. Because last year, and don't misconstrue my words, right? Because I said second chance. They beat Georgia last year in the SEC championship game. I mean second chance in the sense of getting revenge. And which is why we do believe that Alabama's going to get, in a way, get their revenge in the SEC championship game. We don't think Alabama plays Georgia for the Natty, but they will play in the SEC championship game, and Alabama will win that again. LSU gave, the BCS really, gave Nick Saban a second chance in 2012, and Nick Saban took advantage of it and won another national championship. Last little boss, 6-game regular season, and then a 130 single elimination tournament. You know what? Why not? That would be exciting. I'm not going to lie. That would be super, super fun. It's different than basketball. In baseball, you need series. You really do need series. But for football, it's why NFL playoff, one game. Bowl games, one game. College football playoff, one game. So, hey, let's do it. We actually might devise, at some point, a 130-team tournament and throw out our bracket on a live stream just for you guys to see, and we can debate who would make it or simulate them through some simulator online or video games, however you want to do it. But I love doing that kind of stuff, and I think it would be kind of interesting to see because, again, anything can happen. Anything can happen on any given Saturday, and that would be the beauty of it. Again, Scott Swindle, again, appreciate you. Woo Pig, good to have you here. Good morning to everybody here again. Last Level Boss, quoting some Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last. 100% there. Like a motto I like to live by. Connor Hibbett, good morning, my man. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Angie Lassiter, good to see you as well. Always enjoying our take. Angie, we appreciate you. So happy to have you here. Good morning to you. We're thrilled to have you. Thrilled to have everybody on the live stream this morning. Actually had some great engagement, some decent views. We peaked around 18. Hopefully that'll continue to grow as we do this more consistently. Again, we're doing these at 8 a.m. Central every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And then tomorrow night, Wednesday, we will have one at 7 p.m. Central Time. So more people can hopefully join in on that. We can have a really great discussion and have some, just have some fun. Connor Hibbett, though, 9-6, 2011, regular season. Yep, remember that. And they missed the PAT. Very fitting because they were making field goals all game and then missed the PAT. LSU began that national championship favored. And then a few days later, Bama was the favorite. Vegas just knew. They had an idea. Never doubt Nick Saban. Never doubt Nick Saban. Let's see. Last little boss. Think about the full single elimination. Most teams have to go undefeated to have a chance unless you are one of the golden children. Not wrong. Not wrong. 100% there. I'm going to touch on Sam's comment. Go back and touch Scott's comment. Haven't seen why he may have left, but I do want to briefly touch on that. I'm sure that'll be a great way to leave things off. But real quick, Sam, how can I see Georgia beating Alabama if it were to happen? And that's a phenomenal question. So obviously, these two teams aren't going to meet until the SEC championship game, more than likely, barring some crazy changes. And ironically, we'll use the SEC championship for example, and that game is not going to matter because they're both undefeated. They're both making the playoff regardless of the outcome. But right now, Sam, I will tell you this: how did Georgia win last year? How did Georgia beat Bama in the national championship last year? They did it from a phenomenal defense. There were multiple instances that Bama was getting close to punching that thing in the end zone, and that defense tightened up. And we know, obviously, that Georgia's defense isn't going to be the same from last year. They lost so much talent. What was it, like 7 or 8 first-round picks? I mean, it was insane how much talent they lost on defense. But they still have a lot coming back. I especially say probably in the front 7. A lot of good talent coming back defensively. And that's one thing that for Alabama, I think is going to be a bit of a struggle for them from time. They got the Heisman winner, Bryce Young. They've got Jahmyr Gibbs coming in from Georgia Tech. He's going to be a breakout star. But there's some questions at the wide receiver position. And that's where Georgia's secondary. If Georgia can shut that down, I have faith in Kirby Smart being able to take Jahmyr Gibbs out of the game. And one thing I will say this, Jahmyr Gibbs, what's his strength? He's a running back, sure, but he's even more dangerous out of the backfield as a pass catcher. And I'm going to throw everybody an old reference. Back, Super Bowl, 2000, 2002, when the Patriots played the Rams in the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I believe it was Marshall Faulk that the Rams had. And he was a dangerous pass catcher out of the backfield. Belichick said hit him every single play. Find a way to hit him every single play and take him out. So they faked the toss to him. They faked the handoff to him. Wherever he is, wherever Faulk was going, they were hitting him. And they were taking him out. And it was forcing Kurt Warner to go to someone else. And it was forcing Kurt Warner to go to someone else other than his check down. So he either had to get rid of it, stay in the pocket too long and get sacked, or throw it away. There weren't many options. And so I think if Georgia's defense can go in there and shut down Jahmyr Gibbs, take him out of every single play, he's not going to beat Georgia on the ground. I don't think there's anybody that can beat Georgia on the ground. If you want to beat the Bulldogs, you got to beat them through the air, or you got to force turnovers off of them. And that's a very hard thing to do, too. So how does Georgia beat Alabama? You shut down Jahmyr Gibbs. You take him out of the play. You force the young wide receiver corps to step up, something that I'm not entirely confident they can do right now. Maybe by the season's end they could. But against elite defenses like Georgia, they could struggle. And then obviously Alabama's defense struggled versus the pass last year. Yes, we know that they've improved there. Eli Ricks comes in. They still got Joe back there. They've got a lot of people back in that secondary. But Stetson Bennett in this Georgia offense, is one we just talked about, is extremely underrated. They're going to be electric. They were, I think a top 25 offense last year. Have a chance to be top 20, top 15 this year. How much talent they've got coming back. So the offense for Georgia, for me, has enough to exploit Alabama's defense. One that should be solid, but one that, again, has enough to exploit the Alabama secondary. So shut down Gibbs, exploit the secondary, and then out wide, you got to slow down the Alabama receivers, something that I think they can do until someone steps up as the certified playmaker. Georgia will be fine. Again, that's how I see it if it's going to happen. Taking a couple players out of a non-factor, almost making Alabama one-dimensional. And we use that term a lot, but it's true. So hopefully I answered your question, Sam. Obviously, we'll have a lot more to talk about with that, but and he's right. Got a lot of mismatches with their tight ends, too. Brock Bowers is unbelievable. I would probably put him up there as the best tight end in the entire country. And then Connor saying we could discuss this later, but he thinks Baylor could finish the season unranked. We will be touching on that later. Bring that back for tomorrow or Thursday, and we'll be touching on that because Scott won't be happy with that, but it might be fun to discuss. And last thing real quick, Scott, if he comes back and watches, whatever he decides to do, he asked me, what are some of the delusional fan bases that we have dealt with from our predictions that we have put out? And I don't know. I don't know if I like getting into this. Because it's always a touchy subject, but we don't have too many people on this stream, so it's probably okay. I will say that a lot of the times we deal with people in the Big Ten, the two big conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC. Those are the most delusional fan base. Not all of them, but a lot of these fans get a little delusional here. Michigan State, for example. The Michigan State faithful, I think they're going to go on and win 11, 12 games again this year. It's not going to happen. But I love getting those comments of hate mail from thinking that Michigan State's going to win the Natty and make the playoff this year. When you look at the schedule and you look at who comes back for them, 8 or 9 wins, very feasible. Making another New Year's Six bowl game, competing for a Big Ten title, not going to happen. Why? Because you got your ass kicked by Ohio State. And you're not going to beat them this year. That's for sure. So Michigan State fans have been rough. Every now and then Kentucky fans always think they're going to win the Natty. And I'm like, guys, this isn't basketball. Come on. I mean, Kentucky, yeah, and don't tell Mark Stoops that. My God, that rift between Mark Stoops and John Calipari has been really fun to watch. But look, Kentucky football is great. They've seen a major resurgence. But to think that they are, going to win 11, 10 games in the regular season, not out of the question, but tough schedule. A road game at Florida, a road game at Tennessee, still got to play Georgia. I mean, do we think that Kentucky is to the point where they can beat Georgia yet? Probably not. Even though they get to host the Dogs, probably not. So I think Kentucky fans every single year expect the world, and it just isn't always in the cards. They should just be really honestly happy with consistent bowl games and good bowl games at that. I think they got to be thrilled with that. Missouri, I think that's the last one I'll say. Missouri fans, that's the last one I'll say. My God, you talk about just spoiled children right now is Missouri fans. I've got them at 4-8, and people may disagree with that or hate me for that, but look at Missouri's team, look at the schedule, look at what happened last year. Missouri isn't going to be much of anything this year, and everybody wants to point to Eli Drinkwitz and his recruiting and how great he's been doing. That's fantastic. Let's see it transition to success on the field. I don't expect these big-time recruits to immediately take off in year one for Missouri, especially, again, with a brutal schedule. I believe they draw Auburn out of the West. They draw Arkansas out of the West. They obviously have to play Florida and Georgia and Kentucky and Tennessee, who they got murdered by last year. They have to go on the road to Kansas State, who's going to be a bit of a sleeper in the Big 12 this year. I mean, the schedule is just so tough that maybe Missouri goes to a bowl game. Good for them. But these people out there thinking they're going to win 7, 8, 9 games, delusional. It's just not going to happen. And again, everybody wants to be a homer. Everybody wants to support their team. I do not blame you one bit. I would do the same thing, hoping that my team's going to do great and maybe exceed expectations every year. But at some point, you got to wake up, smell the roses, open your eyes, and go, hey, it's just going to be a down year for us. And hopefully one day we'll bounce back. That's got to be the key. But guys, that's going to do it for us here on the first Good Morning Gridiron episode of the year, right? We are back with these daily live streams. We're so excited to be doing that with you again. Live streams Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. in the morning. 8 a.m. Central Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Tomorrow, we'll be back at 7 p.m. Central Time for a nightly live stream. Hopefully get a lot more viewers in there. So make sure to spread the word. Bring your friends, bring yourself, bring your questions and your comments so we can talk college football with you. So we'll be back tomorrow, nonstop content, and then next week is when things, of course, will really take off. But we want to thank you all for joining us this morning. We can't wait for the future. Of course, as always, check out everything down in the description below. Check out the Discord. If you enjoyed the live stream, hop on the Discord. It's a 24/7 live stream. What more could you want? So hop in on that. Check out the expert picks. Our man Chris was up here talking about our spread picks, how great they've been for him, and thousands of others across the country, and we want the same for you. So join that today, guys, the GE Nation over at thegridironexpert.com. Make sure to go sign up for those today. And guys, once again, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. And we will see you back. Yep, Connor, you got it. We will see you back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time. So good morning, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.